Coffee Pot Conversations.
In this very special episode, I talk with April from April in Paris Tours. We were due to meet in a coffee shop in Belleville. Upon our arrival, it was chock-a-block, full of people sitting on their laptops, not talking. April figured that it wasn't a good idea to go and upset the locals, so we popped around the corner. And obviously, April being a tour guide and living at the time in Belleville, knew the best places to go. So we popped into this little coffee shop. Well, we didn't pop in. April popped in afterwards. We stayed outside and had our chat, which was quite nice. It was a nice day at the time. I was using my microphone with a fluffy bit on the end, so it sort of kept the wind resistance down a bit, which is nice. Yeah, you've got background noise, scooters going past and the odd person walking past us. But one thing that does make this episode special is it is marking the 10th anniversary of April starting April in Paris Tours, obviously 10 years ago. And for me, it was my first interview where I hadn't really planned anything. I had no idea what we were going to be talking about. I checked April's website, well, literally from the beginning of my journey on the 12th all the way up to Belleville on the 20th, which wasn't very long. But I will mention on the metro you have phenomenal mobile access. The internet is outstanding speeds, much better than anywhere else in Paris, I find. And it's much, much better than what we have in London, whether you're walking the street on the underground or even sitting at home on my Wi-Fi. The speeds in Paris on the metro, considering in theory underground, is just phenomenal. We could really take a few hints and tips from Paris with our underground system. But that's not a discussion for now. That's going to be in a future episode. So this episode, it was me meeting up with April Pett from April in Paris Tours, sitting outside of a coffee shop. And that's it. So we just chatted for about half an hour, I suppose. And what you're going to hear is that conversation.
Coffee Pot Conversations.
Hello, and who are you?
Are we recording?
You certainly are.
Oh my gosh, already. Okay. Hi, bonjour. Hi, Paul. I'm April from April in Paris Tours. Yes, the president, as they like to call me here in France. I really like that title, actually. Yeah. So I organize tours here in Paris, beautiful Paris, and from Canada. And it's nearly 10 years that I've been living here in the City of Lights.
And is that light singular or plural?
Singular.
Singular, okay.
Yeah.
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 That's the general consensus these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. I know most people believe it's lights because of all the twinkling lights all around the city, but no, it's light. Singular. Yes. The Enlightenment thinkers. Yeah. But I always like to think it's also because of the Alexander III Bridge with the first bridge with lights on it for the 1900 World Fair. Yeah. It really makes Paris magical. So.
And obviously the Eiffel Tower's caught on with a little twinkling.
Yeah.
As well as,
have you seen it? Obviously.
Yeah.
It's amazing, no?
Certainly, yeah.
From the top of the street here, you can see it actually. At
wow.
nighttime, you get a great view of the Eiffel Tower from here in Belleville.
A few years back, I was in Rue de Londres, just by Gare Saint-Lazare, and I've looked over, just caught the tip, but see the huge spotlights beaming around. That's quite nice.
So pretty. After 10 years, you know, they say time flies when you're having fun, but I'll never get tired of seeing the Eiffel Tower. Never. So,
Again, that's sort of almost a bone of contention. Some people, well, it's there, but again, I know I visit Paris, I see it, and it's just that little, I'm here now. It's that sort of, and again, not seeing the big sights from like the main boulevards, but we just catch a glimpse over a rooftop.
Yeah.
That for me, that's the magic bit.
I like going to friends' houses, especially if it's like the first time, if it's for like a dinner party or a cup of coffee. And you can see just a little tip of the Eiffel Tower, you know. I was like, oh, I'll come here more. Absolutely. Invite me over more.
So what got you into tours?
So my hometown in Canada is just next to Niagara Falls, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a small place called Thorold, Ontario. And so During my university career, I worked in tourism back at home, and I'm a world traveler. I've been all over the globe, really. So I came here actually to improve my French. I started working with a tour company, and I had done one of their tours like 10 years prior. When I saw they were hiring, I knew that I needed to work with them, and so I worked with them for a year. It was such a great experience, but after a year, I was turning 30, and I said, time to do something a little bit more significant for me, and that's when I launched April in Paris Tours. So, yeah, 8.5 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah. Best job in the world.
I can imagine. So, being travelled, what's the difference for you between Paris, not necessarily as home or as work, but Paris and other sort of major cities?
Well, for me, Paris is the most beautiful city in the world. It's all the fine details of all the buildings. People say to me often, like, don't you ever get tired of seeing Paris? All the buildings are cream colored. They're made of limestone. They're all roughly the same height. But no, it's just like my rule of thumb when I'm showing people through my adopted home, right, is to always look up. And there's beauty everywhere you look. All those fine details of the architectural elements on the facades of the buildings, or the design of the wrought iron terraces or balconies, even just like the decorative elements just in front of the windows. Like if you take a look over there, see? And those wooden windows there, it's just so beautiful. So Paris for me is like being right in the center of a huge outdoor, like, walking gallery, art gallery, and that's what makes it so special. And because of all the fine details, like, you might see something that I've never noticed before, and you might say, April, take a look at that. And I'm like, wow. So, that's something that keeps me falling in love with Paris more and more and more every day, really. So
you say about the cream buildings, I know exactly what you mean. But yeah, you picture Paris, that's what you get in your head. But then you go outside, away from the main hub, and I mean, there's no two buildings the same.
No.
Not here.
Not here.
I'm staying in Nation, it's different. I've been in the 14th, which is my favourite, and it's all different.
Yeah.
And I suppose you go anywhere, you've got your main, you think of New York, you picture Wall Street, and the shops, but you go a little bit outside of that. And for me, I think the difference with Paris and the other bits, Paris is so compact.
Yeah.
But spacious.
Yeah.
It's difficult to explain. But it's, coming from London, everything's tight.
Yeah.
But it's also so far away. If I want to go from the shops to the museums, it's sort of a 20-minute ride on the tube.
Yeah.
But here I can walk it.
Here you can walk it everywhere, right? Yeah.
Or 4-minute metro ride.
But I think what is interesting about what you just said about, like, here we're sitting in Belleville, we're on the brink here of the 20th, and across the street that's the 19th. Yeah, so we're like right on the brink of the two arrondissements, over Nation, and even the 14th. Paris is in the shape of an escargot, right, like a snail shell. And so these neighborhoods that you've just mentioned, they were the kind of like the last neighborhoods to become part of Paris. And so up until 1860, these neighborhoods were like rural villages outside of the city limits. And so they still maintain kind of that unique rustic charm. You don't have the Haussmannian style architecture here, because, well, these were the neighborhoods that the kind of like the commoners, the average Joes were pushed out to these neighborhoods. And it was more so like the central of Paris that was reconstructed during the Second Empire. But that gives it so much charm over here too as well. I love all the different style buildings in these neighborhoods, and like the greenery.
It's everywhere.
Look at this garden behind you. Here, we're just sitting here on a terrace, and look, you look over your shoulder, and there's fig trees over there, and it's just so charming in these neighborhoods. So. And
you've got the little parks, it's the squares as well, which again in London, where I'm from, you have a park, and you've got to walk miles to get another park. Yeah. And there's no little sit-down areas. It's everywhere in Paris. Although what I have noticed is you normally get like a restaurant on one corner, on the opposite corner, exactly the same. Yeah. It's almost like they've flipped it on a mirror. So you never short of something to eat, but they sort of intersperse it with the little shops, and then you get a little bit of parkland, or somewhere just to sit down and relax, even if it's a bench somewhere.
Yeah.
If that's in London, it would be ripped up and a bit of graffiti on the floor.
You know, here we say that people watching is a national sport, right? So that's why you always have somewhere to sit so you can watch the world go by.
Talking to my girlfriend Nev last night about it. We were in Au Pair Tranquille, just outside Les Arts, the shopping park, and it is everywhere you look with the terraces. The seats, they're 2 by 2, or like one row of 2.
Yeah, looking outwards. Yeah, they're very inviting, aren't they? Yeah. There's got a fun fact for you. There's 9,057 open terrace cafes in Paris. So if you went to a different one every day, it would take you 29 and a half years to visit them all. So yeah, I'm slowly trying to make my way around to them all, but you know, so many more keep opening and closing and changing, you know, ownership, but trying to get my way around and to people watch from all those inviting chairs on those terraces around the capital.
And again, it's walking along here. I've stayed in the 20th previously in Rue de Périgny.
Yep.
And it was a very, I don't know if I want to admit, like oriental type of place, whereas down in the 14th it felt very more sort of Latino.
Okay.
And each place I've been has got a different community.
Yeah.
And that, again, that's nice. But this isn't known as sort of like a Chinatown. They say it's down in the 13th.
Well, there is one here as well.
Oh,
yeah.
Are they classes as...
They're here in Belleville, yeah.
Again, it's all the streets are sort of like the oriental food markets and things.
The one in the 13th is actually the largest Asian community in Europe. But in Paris, we actually have 3 of these kind of neighborhoods. No, merci. So, but here there is, like, afterwards we can walk down the street here and you'll see all the amazing restaurants. Yeah. So, but this one here, this neighborhood here actually in Belleville, like here in the 20th, you know, as you say, each neighborhood kind of has its own kind of culture that resides there, you know, but years ago, my very first apartment when I moved to Paris, was here in Belleville as well. And because I live in the neighborhood now. And so I was trying to kind of like determine who I would classify as being like the main culture in the neighborhood, and I couldn't really figure it out because there's a very large like Asian community, there's like a larger kind of like Northern African community, you know, there's a lot of expats here. And so one night I was watching National Geographic and it said there's around 270 different cultures that live in this neighborhood. Wow. Yeah, so here's like a big hodgepodge of different cultures, and I think that's fascinating actually. Yeah, so that's something really neat about this particular neighborhood of Paris. Yeah.
Have they reached this far with gentrification yet?
Absolutely. Yeah, because when I moved here 10 years ago, I mean, it was already kind of like a hip place, but these days, oh my gosh, after 10 years, I've seen the change so much. I've come and gone, always kind of lived around here. But so it always popped back into the hood while I was living in other arrondissements. But yeah, here, I mean, gosh, the Bobos have taken over, right? Do you know what a Bobo is?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You can explain by all means.
So a Bobo is a bourgeois bohemian, aka the hipsters. Yeah. So that means lots of good coffee in the neighborhood, actually.
Yeah. So swings and roundabouts, pros and cons.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, it's definitely a very hip neighborhood these days. Yeah, everybody is kind of flocking to Belleville, I feel. Yeah. Don't feel like there's enough French spoken in the neighborhood, though, because of this, because there's a lot of expats who come here, and you hear a lot of English in the streets, which, yeah. Actually, I'm moving to the 14th. Fingers crossed, if it all works out, yeah, by the end of the month. That's the goal.
Good
so,
luck,
yeah. You'll have to give me some hints about the 14th. It's not a neighborhood I'm very familiar with. I don't go that far. It's far from Belleville.
It's such eclectic. I mean, like all the arrondissements, you move around the corner, it's different.
Yeah.
But yeah, the hotel I was in was just next to Parc Montessori.
Yeah.
I like waking up and going to a boulangerie in the morning.
Yeah.
And
We all do.
I'd never ventured outside of Paris before properly. So I walked through the university gardens.
Yeah.
There's a bridge.
Yeah.
Takes you over the Belleville.
Okay.
And I felt like I was in freedom, like a no man's land.
Yeah.
Just left, there's a Joe and Joe's, and just beyond that is a Portuguese boulangerie. It's beautiful. It's not very big. There's half a dozen seats.
Okay.
But it's got that sort of community feel. Like nice
I
place to
love
sit
that. Are you a fan of the pastel de nata?
Not really.
No, me neither.
I feel bad saying no. I'm a pan of chocolate or pan of cheese.
Yeah, I don't like creme brulee either, but it's kind of like the same inside.
Yeah.
That kind of like custardy, creamy. No, not a fan.
I love egg custard tarts, which we have back home.
Yeah,
we have,
sure.
Custard slices, which are big in Wales, and I love creme brulee.
Yeah.
But what I found is not everywhere has the hard crunch.
Yeah, that
And
you
I feel-
can
yeah.
tap with your spoon, huh?
I feel cheated when I don't get that.
Yeah.
It's like, what's this? If I wanted fake, I would have got the turkey, bought it cheap. But
Yeah,
no, it's
yeah.
wrong. I don't speak enough French to complain.
You can get like one of those translator apps on your
Yeah.
phone to complain into it. There's a place up here that does a trio of creme brulee, and they infuse them with like vanilla from Madagascar, lavender, and raspberry, I believe. Yeah, it's called Escargot Bar. It's up the hill on the Rue de la Villette. I recommend going next time you visit. Yeah,
Will do.
yeah, it's awesome. Actually, I don't mind their creme brulee. I'll have a little taste, but it's
I'll
not.
put that in the show notes, as
Yeah.
recommended by
Yeah.
So, right. I don't want to move on to the notebook section just yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to think of a really good question for you.
Tell me. Hit me with what you got.
Since
Is
things
that how
like-
the saying goes?
Okay, really off topic. You've just come back from Italy.
I have come back from Italy, yes.
How was Italy?
Amazing. So beautiful. It was my first time in Cinque Terre. So colorful, but crazy storms at night. So all the hiking paths were closed. But Italy's always nice to go back to, actually. My family's Italian. I spent my first birthday in Venice, yes. And I think that's really what gave me the wanderlust, was when my mom and my nonna brought me to Italy back then. So I have my Italian passport, so I have dual citizenship that allows me to stay in Europe and have my business and live in Paris. Yeah, I actually lived in Sheffield for a few months.
In England? Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, what a contrast.
Before Brexit, and the passport
Yeah,
was
sorry.
still valid over there, But yeah, I spent a lot of time there, and then one summer I moved there, and then, it didn't really work out, so up and away I went to the next destination. But so going back to Italy is always very special. I still have family who live there. It was my Nono and Nona who moved to Canada, but they're immediate families. So my extended family's still there. So I try to go back once a year. I've been twice this year. Didn't see them this time since it was a hiking trip, which never happened. But I ate lots of good pasta and gelato. So
What more can I ask for?
right? Yeah. So have you been to Italy?
Once for a friend's wedding.
Okay.
Or her first wedding, I should say.
Okay.
And I never remember. I always say it's Florence, but I don't know for sure. But we stayed in a vineyard.
Okay.
Amazing place.
Yeah.
I was in Dublin the year before, and I bought myself a suit.
Okay.
And it's very nice, a linen suit, nice lightweight. I thought that would do for Italy.
Uh-huh.
I tried it on. It didn't fit anymore. I put on just a little extra weight around the waist. So
Happens to the best of us.
what am I going to do? So we popped into the town, found a tailor. He didn't speak English. I don't speak Italian.
Yeah.
I found a nice double-breasted suit.
Uh-huh.
I asked him to put turnips in it because for some reason they were long.
Yeah.
And I needed it by tomorrow. So we've managed to pidgin English, pidgin Italian, a little bit of Spanish thrown in. And it did it, and it all worked out well. And it was a very heavy weight suit for a summer wedding.
Okay.
But I looked good. I'm not gonna lie, I
Okay.
looked
I'd love
good.
to see a picture of that.
You know what? I will find it. It'll be me and my friend Paula.
Okay.
hopefully her latest husband doesn't see it. But I'll send it to you, and I'll also tag it on this, this podcast.
Yeah,
so,
cool. Yeah, I look forward to seeing it.
I think I was clean shaven and more hair. Yeah.
No hat?
No hat.
No.
That was before the days of the hat.
Okay, I feel like that's your signature accessory.
It normally is.
Yeah.
I said yes because of the hoodie. It's the branded hoodie.
Yeah, I noticed that, of course.
But
I
I don't know
love
if you saw
it.
the back.
Oh, cool.
The
All
QR
right.
code, just in case people sort of snap it. I'm all about the branding.
Yeah, sure.
But, no, it's for me, yeah. With the podcast, it's exactly what we're doing now, just having a chat,
Yeah.
getting to know the people that make Paris happen,
Yeah.
and the cafe culture, which just let the moped go. We don't really have. I've not found it in my part of London.
No,
We've got coffee shops,
Yeah.
and you get people come in and chat, but
it's not the
It's
same.
not
There's
the same.
nowhere around the world. I've been to like 50 countries. I've never found a place that has the same kind of cafe culture as here in Paris, in France in general, really. So I have a question for you.
okay.
Do you like the coffee in France? Tell me what you think. Be honest.
Well, being honest, I'm a tea drinker. I can talk about tea, but no, coffee. I'm not a great coffee drinker. I don't like coffees. I have latte because it's heavier with the milk. It takes away a little bit of the bitterness.
Okay.
When I'm being creative and productive, I'll always have a coffee.
Okay.
I don't know what it is with the caffeine. It sort of calms the brain and opens up.
Okay.
It's almost like absinthe, but without the alcohol.
Yeah,
so-
do you see green fairies when you drink it?
I see green fairies all the time. I'm on medication. I left at home, but it's no.
Can you see one over my shoulder right now?
Yeah, it's sitting in a pot. It's does look like Kylie Minogue. It's,
Sorry. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Okay.
but no,
so.
I have been told the coffee is nice by a lot of people.
Oh really? I don't think so. That's
Okay.
why I
They might have
asked.
been polite. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what good coffee's meant to taste.
So something that I've learned over the years, I'm a huge coffee drinker, and so like 60% of Parisians in the morning they go into your like classic bistro or cafe and they stand at the zinc, right, the bar top, and they have a quick espresso shop on their way to work or meetings or whatnot. And so because of the high demand of the clientele, the baristas, you know, they're in a hurry and they're trying to keep up, and the coffee is often bitter or burnt. Yeah, so the French don't actually have a great rep for their coffee making skills, which is interesting considering they're so, you know, highly respected in the gastronomical, I forget the word I was
Field?
going to feel now. I was going to say front, like in the world,
So-
gastronomical
gastronomical front,
world,
like a
right?
mafia.
Like, yeah.
It's the Italian heritage.
Yeah,
coming
there
out,
you go. But no, like they're so well renowned internationally with their talents in the gastronomical world. There you go, got the good word. So you know, it's kind of interesting to hear that their coffee making skills aren't that great. But these days, you know, like I said, the Bobos are taking over the coffee trend here in Paris. So it's really changing dramatically because, you know, you can go to these nice coffee shops in houses around the capital where you can get your flat whites or your fancy lattes or your cappuccinos, where they serve it with like a little dove drawn into the foam of your coffee, right? So yeah, so it's changing these days. So you can actually find really good coffee in Paris these days.
Which
But-
is normally expat owned.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of Aussies.
Yeah.
And the Kiwis too. So yeah. But I'm still gonna be that part of that 60% that goes in and has a burnt coffee in the morning. Yeah. There's just something about that culture of it all. And it's interesting, like here I only drink normally like an espresso, but then when I go to Italy, I always have to have a cappuccino. I don't know if it's what's in their milk over there or what, but yeah, I have to have a cappuccino every time I'm in Italy, every morning, which I don't drink milk here, so yeah. Maybe I just want to fit in that 60%. Yeah.
So I've got a coffee in front of me.
Yeah.
And I've got a glass of water.
Uh-huh.
What's the water for?
to
Rinse
clean
your mouth out
clean your
afterwards.
palate. Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Get that bitterness away, no?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. But again, when at home I'm in one of the chains, it's called Costa Coffee. It's now
I
owned by
know
Coca.
Costa, yeah, of
Owned by
course.
Coca-Cola now.
Pardon me?
Owned by Coca-Cola now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh.
But I still love them, and that's where I go. I've got one down the road from where I work,
Yeah.
around the corner at home, and they put in the nice tall
The
latte
big
glasses.
Yeah,
and
uh-huh.
just drizzle the sugar on top, let it all sink down.
Okay.
Let it get cold. After about an hour,
Then you
I
drink it.
It's,
Okay. See, like when I go back to Canada, we have a brand, a chain called Tim Hortons. And
I was going to ask you about Tim Hortons. All right, let's carry on with that.
So
Yeah.
Tim Horton is he was a famous hockey player, and so now he has this coffee chain brand and donuts and bagels and all that jazz. You know, for me, it's very patriotic to drink Tim Hortons, even though I never know what to get when I'm home when I order there, because they offer espressos, but everybody drinks a double. This is like a Canadian term, if you will. It's double cream and double sugar. I actually have a Tim Horton mug up in my apartment that says double. If you know, you know, right? And so, but I feel like that's what I should drink, but I don't put sugar or cream in my coffees here. So if I order one, I think it's just to be like that patriotic Canadian doing as all the other Canadians do. So, yeah, but no, I don't think I actually love the coffee, but I do drink it just to support.
You mentioned Tim Hortons.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to talk about other donut brands, but what about Wendy's?
Wendy's?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't really eat fast food.
No, okay.
No, except Tim Hortons. Love a good everything bagel with cream cheese.
All right, moving on with bagels then. I went to the Marais, I think it was the last time, the time before, and opposite that famous falafel place, there's like a Jewish bakery.
Yeah.
And I went in there and ordered what they would call a bagel, and it was lovely. And I had the potato lacquer, which was very nice. But their bagels, I've never been to New York, so I don't know what a New York bagel's like.
Okay, yeah.
But here, it just felt like it was a heavy roll.
Yeah.
With a hole in the middle.
Yeah.
Where I go at home, Brick Lane, we have and we call them bagels.
Okay.
B-E-I-G-A-L.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And they are totally different. They're slightly flatter. They've been egg washed and boiled.
Okay.
And then they're cooked.
Okay.
And that, to me, that's a proper bagel.
Okay.
But I'm guessing Tim Horton bagels are...
No, they're nice. They're of course, a bagel's a bit more dense than your fluffy baguette that we get here, right? But yeah, I don't know if I've ever had a bagel in the Marais. I always get the falafel. Yeah.
From the famous place or the ones down the road?
My favorite place is Chez Hannah. Yeah, I'm not going to wait 3 hours for a falafel. I'm no connoisseur, but it's deep fried chickpeas. How different can it be?
But talking to Lily the other day, she was saying about, and I called it, was it Angelique? And it isn't. Angelina.
The hot chocolate.
She said, you can queue up or go to one of their other branches.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I guess with falafel, a falafel's a falafel.
Right?
Yeah.
Actually, so my very most popular tour, I think is safe to say, it's my Versailles tour, and there's 2 Angelina out in Versailles. So especially on colder, winter or late autumn days, like I was there last week, it was pretty chilly and rainy, very rainy actually. So that was the perfect way to warm up, and you're never going to wait again 3 hours for a cup of cocoa. Have you tried the Angelina hot chocolate?
I haven't. I didn't want to wait 3 hours. I'm cold now. I need a drink.
But I think
So
it's
I popped in the
worth.
Ritz instead.
Ooh la la.
I went to the toilet in the Ritz. I got a lovely photo of my boys. It was Christmas last year. They're dressed in black.
Yeah.
Because they're kids.
Yeah.
And we were coming out of these really luxurious toilets. And
Yeah.
they look like bank robbers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's such a. You know what? I'm going to put that on. Take that on this as
Yeah.
well. But it's a beautiful photo.
That's so funny. The Ritz is beautiful. My favorite bathrooms, I go to the Hotel de Crillon. The Hotel de Crillon is at Place de la Concorde. Yeah. That's where I sneak into. Yeah.
Place de Concorde, is that the one with the big
The
gold
obelisk.
top?
Yeah,
Good.
that's it.
I was doing Instagram Live for the marathon, just every half hour.
Okay.
Just to make sure I was still running. and I've seen it, and I saw it's plastic
You
Concorde.
were running it?
Oh yeah. Oh, I've done it twice.
Okay.
Yeah. I know, never again. Might be again. So this year actually I did the marathon, the half, and the 10K.
Cool.
My
Nice.
trilogy. But yes, I kept saying, "Oh, plastic Concorde." I'm thinking, I don't think it is, and I don't know what made me say it. And then I think I've tried to correct myself, saying, "Oh, it isn't." Then as I've got close, I think, "No, I'm sure it is."
Okay, yeah.
Horrendous live videos. Not great at all. But you said about your tours.
Yeah.
Now, I did quickly flick through. I've flicked through your website several times.
Yeah.
But on the way up, I thought I'll have another refresh. And you don't just do your regular tours. They're not, in a nice way, they're not normal.
Okay.
But in a positive way.
Yeah.
They're not like, oh, here's such and such.
Yeah.
You tell me
So
about
I do offer like the classic tours, like a half-day highlights tour that starts at the Louvre and at Eiffel Tower. Don't go inside the monuments, but these are like the perfect orientation to the city, you know, to kind of get your bearings. The half-day highlights, a half-day historic, which focuses more on the two central islands, a little bit of the Latin Quarter, ends in the Marais, walking down the Falafel Street. I also organize tours at the Louvre and the Musée d'Orsay. So sure, I do offer the kind of like normal tourist, desirable, like, itineraries, but then I offer a few different, like off the beaten path tour is one of my other favorite tours and most popular tours that kind of brings you up into neighborhoods that you may not necessarily visit as a first or second or even third time tourist to Paris. I offer one here in Belleville, starting in Mendy-Monton. Actually, and making our way down through the neighborhood here. I prefer this one at nighttime because there's a cute little cabaret, sing-along cabaret around the corner at Belleville. And they have live music and singing every night, pretty much. Anyway, and I also offer day trips to Champagne and Chablis. Yeah, before the lockdowns, before the borders opened, I should say. I spent the last lockdown in Burgundy, so I was doing market research, you see, in Chablis, and so I decided to turn that market research into a tour. So it's a full day tour out to wine region, also Champagne. The most recent tour that I launched, also based on wine, is a half-day wine tour in Versailles. There's actually a winery there, and this is where the old royal sommeliers used to hang out and make wine for the king at La Bouche de Roi, it's called. So yeah, it's a nice half-day tour if you don't have a full day to go out to one of the other wine regions. So yeah. I try to kind of offer some itineraries that are, like you say, a little bit different, because you can go to any tour company, they offer kind of the same itineraries. So I try to jazz it up a little bit, shake things up a little bit to the extraordinary, I guess, if you will.
Now, I can tell from talking to you, you're a nice person.
Thank you.
It's all right. Even paying for the coffees, so thank you for that.
You owe me.
Yeah,
No.
I certainly do. But I also noticed on your website, what's the web address?
Excuse me.
Took it by
This is why
surprise,
we
didn't
need
it?
these glasses
Tablets.
of water.
Oh, the water.
So my website, yes, is www.aprilinparistours.com. So yes,
Excellent.
April in Paris, after the Frank Sinatra song. Do you know this song?
I think I'm sure I tagged you at some point when you first agreed to meet up.
Oh, okay.
In a song.
Yeah.
I don't know the
Well,
song.
Frank
but it's-
Sinatra has one rendition of it, but there's a few different versions. Ella Fitzgerald is another singer who, sings my song, basically. No.
Not written after you, obviously, because of the age gap.
I just look really good for my age, actually. Yeah.
97 and still drinking coffee. It's amazing.
Keeps me young.
But yeah, on the website, I noticed you also mention other people, which honestly you don't see that often.
Okay.
And I like that. That's you showing support to people. I think that's
Yeah,
that's nice.
I have partners all across Paris, Champagne, Versailles, Burgundy too now. Those are the three main areas where I focus on my tours. And so, yeah, got to share the love, right?
Absolutely.
We support one another. So I have partners that I do put add their logo, and I do work with a handful of other professionals, guides, artists, personal shoppers here in the city, and we make a great team, and they really contribute to the success of April in Paris Tours. And so, yeah, I have them on my website. Give them a little shout out, and that way people who are contemplating which tour should I book, they'll have maybe feel like they know that potential guide when it's not me a little bit better. So yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Thank you.
The latest thing that I've noticed, the lady with the maps. I say it's a lady.
Yeah, Sonia.
Oh, it is, okay.
Sonia. Yeah, she's great. She makes custom maps of Paris, actually. So I think it's really an amazing souvenir. And so, like when I when my tours end and I get back in front of my laptop, I always send a follow-up email with my favorite restaurants and markets and all kinds of other information, including a link to Sonia's maps, because they're customizable. So, you have some favorite coffee places where you record your podcast, for example, or maybe tea houses, and so she'll put them on a map. And she doesn't only focus on Paris, but she can make a map for any city around around the globe, really. So she's super talented. Yeah, I'll give you. Do you follow her on Instagram?
I don't.
You got to.
I will
I'll
do
send
now.
you. Yeah, I'll send you her contact. Maybe potential future guest on your show here.
Could, absolutely.
Yeah, she likes tea as well. She makes her own. But
But one of my dreams is to open up.
what's going on here? Oops, sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry about that. Don't know what happened.
If you need to take it, it's not.
No, it wasn't
okay.
even a phone call. My phone's on silent. I don't know what happened. Anyway.
It's those tablets again. One of my dreams. I don't dream often, but one of them is to open up a tea room and a coffee shop together.
Okay.
Again, I was talking about this the other day. So I was going to have all different types of tea and then all different types of coffee.
Okay.
And I was thinking, no, because when I walk into a cafe back in England, I just want a mug of tea.
Yeah.
One tea bag, sugar. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think, but is that really a tea room with a nice dainty cake? Yeah. Tea, bacon roll. That's it. And then you can worry about the coffee later.
Yeah. Love a good bacon roll.
Do you have red sauce or brown sauce?
I don't know. I just kind of let my friends choose for me when I go visit. So
Nice.
yeah. I do have a favorite type of tea. Love a Yorkshire tea.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Is that because of the Sheffield
I
connection?
guess so, yeah. As I said that, I was like, oh, that makes sense.
A revelation. It's, one of those, epiphany moments. Right, I've concluded my side of things.
All right.
I know.
Thanks, Paul.
Right.
Merci.
Is there anything you want to say, talk, or ask about?
Well, no, it's just been a real pleasure. Yeah, I thought you were going to play some salsa music and we were going to dance around the square here, but
I was going to, but I think Spotify rules and regulations and it would have just blanked out the whole podcast. So,
yeah, and so, I have a few of my guests who I've met over the past couple of weeks and some friends and family. I've told them that we were going to be having this coffee pot conversation today, and so they're really looking forward to hearing it. So yeah,
well,
you're gonna send me all the details where the podcast can be.
But it's again, I have no secret. I'm not technologically minded. I don't do the podcasting thing, but I use podcasts for Spotify.
Okay.
And then it goes straight up to Spotify.
Okay.
Then it's beamed onto Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and other platforms.
Okay.
I don't really know what goes on.
Okay.
I just do my bit, hit it. So apparently it's on all popular platforms.
Perfect.
But I'm just going to play this jingle live because you were almost singing it. It will come.
Coffee pot conversations.
And that's my eldest. I said, I need a jingle. We were struggling. It took about 20 takes. I went, no, something like, when we sing Boulevard Saint-Germain,
Yeah.
and he sang that Coffee Pot Conversation, and I play it in the office.
I love
It drives
it.
everyone to distraction.
So cool.
And I've got my youngest, I think it was 2 takes, and he says coming soon.
Okay.
So again, that's another little section which you can't hear because
Yeah.
it's live, but
Yeah.
it'll be there.
Great.
So just finishing off, who are you and where can we get in touch?
Yep. So again, April Pett from April in Paris Tours. So you can reach me through my website, www.aprilinparistours.com. My email is bonjour@aprilinparistours.com, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, all under aprilinparistours.com. Yes.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'm now just going to turn it off.
okay.
Coffee Pot Conversations.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Coffee Pot Conversations, hosted by an Englishman in Paris. Today, we had the pleasure of talking to our special guest, who is April Pett from April in Paris Tours, the award-winning tour guide. She is available on aprilinparistours.com, as well as on her Instagram, April in Paris Tours. If you want to explore more about me and my general times that have some relevance to Paris, don't forget to visit anenglishmaninparis.blog, and you can also check out my Instagram at an Englishman in Paris blog. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting the podcast by buying me a coffee from buymeacoffee.com/an Englishman in Paris. Your support does go a long way in keeping the conversation going. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes where we'll dive into even more captivating stories and insights. But until next time, remember, keep sipping that intellectual brew with Coffee Pot Conversations, hosted by an Englishman in Paris. And before we wrap up, I just want to give an extended thank you to April for being the other part of this Coffee Pot Conversation.
Coming up on Coffee Pot Conversations.
We have a few more interviews. We've also got another talking episode whereby it's just me talking. That's fun, but that's in the middle of all the other interviews, so that'll just come as a surprise to you lot. In the meantime, we are next up with episode 3 of season 1, or as I like to call it, 1.3. So until then, come find me, leave a review, tell me what you think. I'm on Instagram at an Englishman in Paris blog. My website, anenglishmaninparis.blog. You can find all my podcasts on your regular platforms, or you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/an Englishman in Paris. Just a quick little one-off if you wish to, but you know what? You don't even have to. At this stage, there aren't many extras, and you know, it's just a support. You're not going to gain anything except my gratitude. But that said, at this early stage, which is still early doors of 2024, I'm happy to accept anyone and talk to anybody about anything. Just need some listeners, so that will be good. Until then, carry on listening to my podcast. You can put it on repeat, I don't mind. Nothing changes. And I've waffled for way too long, so it is time for the final jingle.
Coffee Pot Conversations.